All right. We have a very, very special guest with us today. We are joined by none other than Amanda Booth, owner of trinketsbyamandaBooth.com, where you can get some of her beautiful clay creations like jewelry and keychains and other things, which you can also get customized with your loved one's ashes or your loved one's breast milk or semen, which is pretty fucking cool. Thanks for coming on, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
After the many times we've tried, we're finally here.
That's totally my fault, so I'll take the blame for that.
No, you're good. You're good. The second time was totally my computer. So thanks for coming by. I want to ask you this right off the bat. So when you first started the business, did you start by just doing the clay stuff and then you added in the special ingredients later on? Was that your first thought? How did this all begin?
I actually just started with leather earrings. It wasn't even with clay that I started anything. It was cutting out dinky little leather designs. And it just made me feel good getting into like a creative space and like fueling my creativity again. And then I saw clay and I got into sculpting, and like I found that was like something I was really passionate about. And that went on for, oh my gosh, like I think like 5 or 6 months before I got my first request to work with ashes. Honestly, my entire business has been purely happenstance. Any direction that it's gone in has been because a client has requested something. It's not really because I've come up with anything. Not to like discredit myself or anything like that, but it's all been kind of led down that path by client requests.
So it just like snowballed into that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your first thought? So when you got the ashes, what was your thought with that?
Well, it was a friend, actually. She lived down the street from us, and her son, her young son, tragically died in a accident. So when she came to me asking if I could work with ashes, it was something that like I didn't feel like I could say no to, because like I wanted to do something special for her. I was also super anxious and scared because I'd never worked with anything like that before. And of course, it's not something that you want to fuck up, right?
You don't want to spill anything or...
Yeah. So, or even like wasting any of it, you know what I mean? So I said yes, and I figured it out. And then of course I videoed it because I normally, film most of the stuff that I do. And that kind of took off and got other people asking for memorial pieces. And then I had a friend who was like, well, if you can do ashes, then can you figure out how to do breast milk? And of course, I always say yes to everything. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I can try and figure it out. And so I did a bunch of research. Most people use resin. So it was something that I kind of had to figure out on my own in terms of working it with clay. But I got it working, and then that took off. And then all of a sudden in November, just based off of my memorial and breast milk stuff, my social medias blew up, and I was getting like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages. I still have messages from when we originally blew up that I haven't been able to answer.
Wow.
Yeah. So it went completely crazy, which we were so blessed for. And then it just kind of, it made everything what it is today, I guess.
Right. So that was, you got to the breast milk, and then what was your thought with the semen? Because that must have been like, no way. Like,
well, so it was a good, August. So like almost 10 months after starting using other sentimental materials, that semen kind of came into play. And it was because some troll on TikTok made a joke on one of my breast milk videos saying, we're asking if I could incorporate cum into it. And at first I was so offended because I'm like, this is like a beautiful breast milk piece that has so much meaning. Why would you say something like that? But then it became like the joke of the office space. And that joke just kind of lingered, and my husband was very like, well, why not? I'm like, well, why would I do that? Like the same questions that everybody has in the comments of my videos, I asked the same questions, until finally I brought the joke to Facebook, and I made up this mock ad because I thought it was hilarious. And then all of a sudden I was getting serious requests from it, and I was just like kind of mind blown. But then after hearing some of the stories that people had on like why they wanted it and why it would be cool, it kind of like changed my mind completely. And then I decided to kind of go with it. I'm like, well, I mean, how hard could it really be? Right. So
Wow. And the rest was history.
yeah, and from there we had, women ask if we can do it with vaginal fluid as well. So we do also do jewelry with vaginal fluid too.
No shit.
Um, The only thing that I haven't done yet is blood, but that's just because I haven't had clients willing to do the processing themselves. Because that's the one thing that with blood that I would request is that they do the processing themselves, and I'd walk them through it. But
What does that mean?
yeah, so for everything else, everybody sends me stuff as liquid. So like breast milk is sent as a liquid, semen or vaginal fluid is sent as a liquid, and then we dry and process it ourselves.
Okay.
With blood, any potential diseases or anything that could be carried in blood lives a lot longer and is a little bit more hazardous than seminal or vaginal fluid. Right. So I just ask that people like dry it out and powder it themselves and send it in, just to save us that extra step and to save us like the little extra risk for that. But
that makes sense. Okay. How hard is it to do that? Like how would they be able to do that on their own?
I honestly, for the most part, if you just like blood wise, if you just like lay it out on like smear it on parchment paper and let it dry, and then just like grind it up and put it in like a small vial.
Oh, so cool. That was one of the questions on my notes was if you were going to do blood. So that's it.
I would totally be down for it if anybody is willing. It's just the coloring is going to be the coloring will be a little bit different because obviously, as you know, like as blood dries, it changes color, right? So I'd have to take a little bit of playing around to see if I can get like a good coloring with it, or if people wanted me to add different things to it. But yeah, no, we could totally do that.
Right. Have you ever gotten an email that you were like, no way, I'm not doing that, not at all, no thanks?
I had an Instagram message where somebody asked for my foot powder.
Oh my! I'm not surprised. I am not shocked that somebody said. I don't know how I didn't think about that. And you were obviously like, nah. How do you even do that?
I said yes, but I put an outrageous price tag on it, and they didn't message me back. So
how much would that cost?
I can't even remember. Again, keep in mind too, my husband's the one who does all these consultations, so he's the one who's getting these outrageous messages.
Right.
So, and ultimately, like I try to say that, like, we're always a safe place, and I'm not going to judge anybody's requests or anything like that. But that one did throw like it's
right because it was your foot powder, not like somebody else's that they had already.
Right. So I think he said that we would do it for like $2,000 or something stupid like that. And of course we didn't get a message back. So
don't be surprised if you get another one. Some of them will do 5, 10. You might get a nice 10 grand off that.
Hey, if it'll cover the cost of my materials for a month, I will, or like a couple of weeks, I will totally be down.
All right.
I could use a pedicure, I guess.
There you go. You heard it here first. So that's the only time you were like, nah, I'm not with that. Or you had to up the price a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, like people make joke comments about, asking if I would incorporate different things like on my videos and stuff like that. Right. But any serious requests that I've gotten, we very rarely, if ever, say no to.
Okay.
So, because like people like to joke and be like, oh, well, what's next? Are you going to make like a poop ring, or like I just vomited because of your video? Maybe I'll just send you this and you can turn it into something. And I'm just like, that's a little gross. Like no, thank you.
At least it's engagement under the video though, right? That's what helps. That's what helps it move. That's what helps it get traction. So say whatever you want, I guess.
Honestly, trolling the comments of my videos is probably one of my favorite pastimes.
Right?
Because it's just one big joke now.
Right? Isn't it fun to get a couple of trolls? Like it doesn't bother us at all. We love going back and forth with people.
Yeah, in the beginning it bothered me a little bit because I wasn't used to that. Because like I've never been, targeted so heavily before. I think the only times that it's ever bothered me was when articles started coming out with like my photo and people were like judging my appearance, or it wasn't even judging the process or judging what I was doing. They were like judging me as a mom or as like a person or like my appearance. And I was just like, hey, that's like a little uncalled for, but whatever.
Right. So when how long were you doing it before the articles came out?
So posted the joke about Jizzy Jewelry last August, and the first article dropped in the beginning of September.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember my friend
So,
sent me one, and so it was around that time. Okay.
mhm.
And how was after that? How did everything go for the business, for yourself?
Oh, it's been crazy. I mean, it's been like crazy good.
Yeah.
But just the requests and the messages and everything, it's been thrilling, really. So,
Nice.
I'm just happy to make pretty things that people are going to enjoy and that people like have a story behind them. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. I want to talk more about some of the other things you do, but before I want to get to a couple other things. You said that you
Mhm.
got into clay like a little later, right? So you didn't like start with clay when you were like in high school, because that's the only time I ever remember them even the option of clay being a thing. Like, how do you start with clay?
Well, so like back in high school, like I took AP art. So like I sculpting and stuff was something that I did with like um uh I can't even remember what kind of clay to call, like ceramic clay, like the stuff that you fire in a kiln, you know what I
That's
mean?
what I was thinking you
Uh
did.
no, I work with polymers clay. So it's polymers clay which just bakes in the oven at a really low temperature. So I just got into clay because I originally started, so back in 2021 was when I started my business. And I had just come out of like a really bad mental headspace, like to the point where like I was going to therapy because like it just, I was in a really bad space. And I needed something to kind of like find some healing through. And I was just super lucky that as I was doing it, I had Facebook friends and acquaintances and followers on Facebook that kind of fueled it by giving me new projects and new requests and stuff like that. So really, like I've only really been sculpting since April 2021, so it's been just over two
Nice.
years.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't tell. I thought you've been doing it forever.
I'm a little obsessive. So whenever I start something, it's like it's not just like a hobby. It always goes from like zero to a million.
Right. Right. I hear
So
that. Nice.
yeah.
Nice. So I was gonna ask for one of our guys on the show. I guess if we got some crow feathers and grounded it up, would you be able to do something with crow feathers, because he's obsessed with crows?
Honestly, you wouldn't even have to grind them up. If you send them to me whole, I can like encapsulate them in like a resin orb. Like I don't know if you've seen any of my orb pieces. But we could do something that way, or I can even like incorporate them into a piece where like you don't, where you can actually like see the feathers and everything
Oh
too.
wow, you hear that, crow? We're gonna get the crow stuff. Don't get him started. He'll love that. So take me through the process of making something from scratch that involves like breast milk or semen or something like that.
So it all starts with like, well, generally it starts with a consultation. I know like for other people that for simpler designs or for other things, you can just order it off the website and then you get shipping instructions afterwards. But for most people, because most of my work is customized and designed per person, they either shoot me an email or a message and go through a whole consultation to design the piece specifically for them. Once we have that done and the invoice sent out and paid, they send their materials through the mail, which we kind of like walk you through the whole process of that as well. And then once we get the materials in, ashes, flowers, or anything that's not liquid, obviously, we can like store it until their next step in line to be done. Breast milk and semen. My husband, because he does the mail, he normally processes the samples right away, so that way they're not sitting too long or anything like that. It takes about 24 hours to dry and to fully process, and then we grind it into a super fine powder. And then once it's powderized, I can take it and incorporate it into the clay, right? So like I knead it in. And then from there I can sculpt whatever anybody wants, whether it's just like a single pearl, whether it's a heart, or whether it's something more complex like what was one of my favorites? I think the little squirrel pendant with holding the Jizzy nut was one of my favorite ones to
Oh man, I
do.
didn't see that one. That's tight.
Yeah, either that or I actually just did a Jizzy dragon. Well, I did a Jizzy piece that has like a dragon sculpted onto it that's holding a little orb with hair inside of it too. So it's one of my favorite pieces, I think.
Wow. Nice,
Hmm.
nice, nice. So you do a couple of other pieces as well that I saw on your TikTok. And I want to just kind of go over them real quick, tell everybody what else you got besides that. You have
Yep.
the Zodiac stuff. That stuff that looked really cool. So tell me about that.
Oh, so like the Zodiac stuff is part of kind of like my intention collection. And so and honestly, I started that for myself personally. But obviously anything I do, I always end up adding to the website. But it's where I take herbs and crystals that are associated with each zodiac, or for intention pieces, like whatever intentions people want to kind of manifest, and I work those herbs into the clay and the crystals into the pieces, so that way it kind of symbolizes and has like all the energies that you want in it, and then yeah.
And it's like the pieces, their zodiac sign, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you big into the astrology?
I mean, I'm not like super obsessive about it, but yeah, I'm totally an astrology girl.
What's your sign?
Virgo, which explains a
Nice.
lot.
Nice, nice. Do you know your three, or you just know the first one, the sun sign?
I'm no, I'm a Virgo sun, Scorpio moon, and Libra rising.
Nice.
No, Libra moon and Scorpio rising. I always get those two mixed up.
Nice. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Virgo rising. That's what I got. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then the animal intention is something different than the zodiac one?
Yeah, the animal intentions are so same kind of thing. So people choose so I have like all the animals listed, but you choose your animal and then you can choose what intentions you want incorporated into it. So like whether it's like self-love and self-worth, or peace and tranquility, or strength or protection, like that kind of stuff. And then I'll work the herbs into, which is kind of neat actually, because every intention turns out different colored, or turns out in a different way, because the clay, like the herbs that are mixed in with the clay,
Right.
it's translucent. So it takes on the coloring of whatever I put into it.
Nice.
But yeah, and then I sculpt it with that, and then I add whatever crystals they want in there as well.
Nice. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw something pretty wild and really cool on your TikTok, and it does not involve semen. It was actually the Harry Potter chessboard that you did. That was awesome. So tell me about how that came to be, because you made a Harry Potter chessboard. You made the chessboard and individual pieces that looked like the cast of Harry Potter, right?
And then I drove that chessboard like what, 13 hours, because I didn't trust shipping. So me
Wow.
and my husband drove it all the way to, was it Iowa? It was just past Chicago. But yeah, that project took like over a week to do. It was such a big one. Honestly, that client is like, she's the biggest sweetheart. I freaking love her. I think about her all the time. But yeah, so Harry Potter was like a really big thing, and she really wanted to teach her kids chess and to play chess with her kids. So she got the board commissioned. I didn't realize how much work was going to go into that board, so like I undercharged so badly, but it was so worth it because it turned out so cool.
Yeah, you only said it took a week?
Well, yeah, it took about.
Wow.
Yeah, because everything's like, even on the board, it's like a wooden frame, but I hand sculpted every single panel and every single square and everything that went onto it. So I had to attach everything, coat it all in resin. I painted on different like details and whatever. And then yeah, it was a big project.
Yeah, now it makes sense when you said that, when you get into something you get obsessive, because I would have thought that took you like 6 months or something like that. Only a week.
No, yeah, no. When I get into like well, that, and what a lot of people don't realize, I work like 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
Right.
So, I mean, on my slower weeks, or like if I'm sick or anything, I might only work 8-hour days. But yeah, no, I go pretty hard and I do a lot in the little time that I have.
Yeah,
So
because you did that whilst also doing all the other pieces, right?
for that one, I actually had to put time aside. That was the only order that I've ever um, actually scheduled to do. For everything else, it's kind of like I'm kind of not flying by the seat of my pants, but you know, most order times are like open ended. I give people like an estimate because I never really know what's on my to-do list, especially with sculptures. My clients, bless their freaking hearts. I love them to pieces for being so patient and understanding with me. But the orders are so different and so complex. Like I have one order that is like, I have to do 3 realistic horses with jockeys on them. And they're going to be
Oh
like
my
massive,
God.
like these 6+ inch, or I think 4 to 5 inch sculptures. And that order alone, I know is going to take me like at least 16 hours per piece just for the sculpting
Wow.
end. But then like the next order could be like a dog sculpture, which I know will take me like half a day. So when I'm trying to plan things and do everything, it's just so hard time management wise, because everything's just so unique and so different that like I can never get a good reading on how long anything's going to take me.
Yeah, I bet. Was that the most complex thing you've done? Was that your biggest piece, the chessboard?
Yes, for one solid piece, I would say that that would be the one thing that had the most moving pieces, the most details, and everything that was incorporated into that. Yeah.
Right. Are you into any other art mediums too? Because you had to paint those. So do you do painting and stuff like that on the side?
I mean, I used to paint and I used to draw a long time ago. It's something that like I'll kind of incorporate into my pieces when I need to, or if I can find a way to like put it into a design. But it's not something that I have enough time to really cultivate those skills, right? Because I'm just so busy with,
Right.
with my sculpting and with everything else. So I do painting inside orbs. Actually, I have one thing on my to-do list where, the orb I am going to have to paint the scenery inside of it. Some of my pieces you'll see like I've done orbs where I painted koi fish inside of them, so and kind of make it 3D by doing it in different layers. So
Nice.
I do bring painting into it, just not to the degree that I would like to, but that's not something that's going to happen for a while, I don't think.
So what's the hardest part of all this? Is it running the business? Is it the amount of work, the workload? What's the hardest part of running the business?
Honestly, I think it's juggling everything, and it's the time portion. I think what a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of people, because they don't know the beginning of everything and they don't realize how new this is, because like this is only 2 years old, you know what I mean, and this has only been blowing up for the last year and a half. So I went from getting maybe 10 to 20 orders a week from friends where I was just doing little things, to all of a sudden like hundreds of orders a week where I was just like, oh my gosh, what's happening.
Wow.
And when it first started blowing up, my whole thought process was, well, if clients are patient enough and if they're understanding whatever, then that's all I need. I just need the love and the patience and everything around it. But the business side of me didn't click in that like, hey Amanda, you actually need to like figure your shit out. um so timelines, time management, and just
Oh yeah.
that portion I think has been my biggest struggle. Um, Honestly, only because of the diversity of stuff that I do. I mean, if I was just making, Jizzy pearl necklaces, it'd be super straightforward and like bing bang boom, right? But because there's just so
You
much
got
going on, I
chessboards,
think it's just,
horses, and all kind of stuff. It's an
yeah.
array.
And even the BFF buttholes blew up
Oh
just
yeah, tell
before
me about
Christmas.
those. Right.
Oh my gosh, those blew up just before Christmas. And like I had regular timelines on my online stuff and I was able to maintain those because it was just like once every week or two, I'd go through my online orders and I was able to do them no problem. All of a sudden I got like 1,000 freaking butthole orders and they're all customized and personalized. And I'm just like, holy crap. Because it just blew up out of nowhere. So that was also an adjustment and trying to figure that out. But yeah, buttholes and dirty trinkets.
What spawned those? Was that like an idea that you had, or did somebody order one and then somebody saw the order and they were like, "I want that"?
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's exactly what happened. I got a customer request for from a client. She wanted personalized little buttholes, and I sculpted on like different characteristics on each butthole that matched, the person. And she gave them to her BFF, and I made a video about it, and I had so many people messaging me. I'm like, I'm just going to pop it up on the website just to make it easy, like make it easier, because so many people are messaging me about it. And then it just kept like, it just took off. And I think Lily Reinhart. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name, but she stitched one of my butthole videos, and that just made it blow up even more than it already had. So,
Right. Is TikTok your best way of promotion right now? Is that like the best?
um, for the most part, I originally like my original blow up was on Facebook Reels.
Really?
Um,
I stopped
yeah,
those.
Facebook Reels is where everything blew up. Because I have just over
Nice.
200,000 followers on my Facebook profile right now. Um, but then it honestly like it kind of juggles. Sometimes my Instagram will blow up, and then that'll quiet down for a little bit, and then my TikTok will blow up. They all take turns apparently.
Nice. So if the TikTok ban goes through, you're gonna be fine.
Oh yeah, I'll be fine.
Okay,
I'll be
good,
fine.
good, good. Which one is your favorite to use? Is it, or do you just, it doesn't matter?
Um, I like TikTok because I'm super lazy and I'll just edit my TikTok video and then repost it everywhere. So,
Right,
yes,
right.
I'm horrible and I don't take the watermarks off and, all that jazz. Um, but I like Facebook for the personal aspect because my Facebook profile is my is my personal one. I do
Got
have a
it.
business one that people follow just for the images of what I do, but my personal Facebook because I'm just real and I'm raw and I'm genuine and I don't look at myself as a business person or a professional in any sense. I'm just, a person doing things for other people. And I like to keep it that way. So I'm very transparent and very kind of like real and it's my favorite way to connect with people, I think.
Nice. Yeah, that's ours too. We like to connect with the audience a lot, so I can agree. Now, I saw that you do spooky pieces. Are you a horror fan, or you just do that for the people?
I again, they're probably done because of of client requests. Which spooky pieces were you thinking? Oh, big for the Halloween pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I had somebody who wanted to put jewelry into like like their shop or whatever, and she's like, "Hey, if I like asked for like a bunch of this stuff, do you think you could make it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So of course I made it. I took pictures and I popped it up on the website as well. And then yeah,
Nice. Well, they look really cool. I like those.
thank
We're
you.
big horror fans over here. So I'm really glad to hear that, and I'm surprised to hear that you've only been doing it for a little while. But I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're so successful in such a short amount of time. Do you
Thank
have
you.
anything else do you want to say before we end this off?
Actually, if you guys want to send me pictures of each of you, I will make your own custom buttholes and I'll send them to you
Wow!
guys.
Thank you so much.
I'll even make sure to put a crow on one of them.
Oh yeah, you got to put. Yeah, he's gonna love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So plug the socials, whatever you got to plug. Let everybody know where they could find you, where they could buy, and how much for the foot one. Is it 10 grand?
You know what? Let's just put it at an even 10 grand. I think 10
There
grand's a
you
good
go.
number.
Two is done. That was only one time for two. Now it's got to be 10.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, no, you can find me Instagram and Facebook. I'm Trinkets by Amanda Booth. TikTok, I'm at Amanda LD Booth. And Facebook, my personal is Amanda Booth, and I'm verified on Facebook and TikTok. So you'll be able to tell that I'm real with a little blue check. So
Nice. Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks for the buttholes in advance.
thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.